I'm Catherine Sheeran, host of the podcast Horse Tales with Cat. My guest today makes his home in Ocala, Florida, where he runs 1111 Farm with his wife, Paula Board. Originally from Santarim, Portugal, Luis Sabino Goncalves has represented his country in over 65 international championships, including 2 world championships, 6 European championships, and the 2018 Mediterranean Games, where he won a gold medal. He is a mainstay at the World Equestrian Center in Ocala, where last year he took home 10 Grand Prix victories at the 3-star level. Luis, welcome to the show.
Hi, how are you, Catherine?
I'm good, thanks.
Thank you so much for the invitation.
Oh, you're welcome. I'm glad that you were able to fit me into your schedule. I know you're at Tryon right now. And I thought I'd start with, how did you come to the sport? Because I don't really know a lot about show jumping in Portugal. So I wonder what drew you to horses and how your career evolved.
Actually, I started riding in my city, in Santarim, where I started with Lusitanos, our Portuguese horses. And I was in the bullfight riding atmosphere. And I started it with as a bullfighter rider. And after I went to Lisbon to study, and in the club in Lisbon, it was more the jumpers. And suddenly I started to jump. I like it. And my father always was very involved with the horses, not as professional, but he always loved horses. And we started to buy jumpers for me to ride and for my brother. Okay, I started to jump at 13 years old. And after I went to the university, like all the young riders, they dream to be professionals. And I told to my father, one day I would like to be a professional. And my father said, listen, until you are studying, I can support you and help you. And if one day you want to be professional, do you finish your studies? I can help you. If you don't finish your studies, you do by your own. Then I was obliged to finish the university. But during that I was studying, I had already sponsors and horses and competing a lot. But after I became professional, and all my life, I based my living from the business. I always had students, but my business was buying, producing good horses and sell them.
I think it's interesting you mentioned 2 things. One is the university, because I spoke with Shane Sweetenham this week, and he also said that he went to university and that was something that his parents really stressed, that he needed to have that education regardless of what he chose to pursue. And then the other point that you brought up that I thought is also interesting is that it feels like the reality of the sport is the business is really in buying and selling. It's certainly not in the competing or even having the students. It's really the money is made in terms of being able to market and produce horses for others to ride. So my first question would be, in Portugal, how big a business is show jumping?
As actually, we are a small country. For sure that I did a lot of business in Portugal, but my business was, I tried to get my business worldwide, and I got it. I sold during my life horses to Asia, to Africa, to America, to all over Europe. I think it was that when I expanded my business that I got more sustainable. Nowadays, just how I see the business is like that. Either you have a good sponsor, someone that wants to do business or not, or just want to have horses for fun, and you have good horses to ride. But you are always a little bit in the hand of the sponsor. You suddenly, if the sponsor changes ideas, you can't stay without horses. It's what already happened for so many riders. Seeing that, I try to do by my own, to ride my horses. During my life, a lot of times I had a few friends that wanted to put money in the business, in the horses together with me, but I never let the people own more than a half. Or most of the time, the people buy 25%, a third, because I want to manage the business myself. And they were like investors, but at the same time, they had fun. The majority of the times we were successful. But the second way that you can live is to give lessons. But if you have too many students, you don't have enough time to ride your horses. You cannot travel so much for the shows because you have the students in your club or at your farm, and it's a little bit difficult. I always had a few students that could follow me to the same shows where I was going. And, nowadays in Ocala, I have a very nice group of young riders. They are all girls that they jump 5 stars, 4 stars, and 3 stars, and they are young professionals with whom I work and I train. But most of them, I have horses together with them. Then they ride the horse, they train, and after we do business together. I have just 4 or 5 horses for me at home, not more. Like that, I can have more horses available to the business. But in reality, I really love to train because I'm always trained a lot with different top riders in the world. I always study and learn and try to be better. And I feel that today I have not just only experience, but I have a lot of theoric knowledge. What I like the most is to look to the horse, to read the horse, and after, from there, I start to train. I never go to a student and to say everything the same, every day the same exercise. Training Heather Holloway, her boyfriend Dylan, was the other day telling to me, one day I'm going to publish a book. And I asked him, why? With so many different exercises that you did with us. I have all the videos, and it's very rare that you repeat an exercise. I used to say, I'm like a master chef. What I have in the kitchen is that I cook. And I love sometimes when I'm training, I see the horse like this, maybe I'm going to do this, and suddenly I invented a new exercise, and I feel really happy and fulfill me inside, because I'm very passionate, and I like always to find a solution by the flat work, gymnastic. I'm very fun from the dressage, okay, but the dressage for the show jumping. I like sometimes takes a little bit longer than if you have a trainer that is more focused in the boots, in the beats, in the little tricks, in the exercise more, a bit more sharp or whatever. Okay, everyone knows how to do it, but for me, where I feel that I'm stronger is on the flat work and on getting them round with a good shape on the canter, with a good and comfortable and elastic contact, and that the horses, they are happy and we give them time to grow up technically and also in the mind and in the body. And after you get a solid horse that can last long for the competition, that doesn't break very fast.
Stay with us. We'll be right back.
This episode is brought to you by the international law firm of Cooley LLP. Clients partner with Cooley on transformative deals, complex IP and regulatory matters, and high-stakes litigation. Cooley has nearly 1,400 lawyers across 19 offices in the United States, Asia, and Europe, and a total workforce of more than 3,000 people. Our connection to the law firm comes through Cooley partner and jumper rider Cullen Drescher, who competes in the high amateur and Grand Prix levels, in addition to leading Cooley's business restructuring practice from the firm's offices in New York City. Well, I love a couple of things that you mentioned because I spoke with Jenna Friedman Lopez, and she said when she first started training with you that she did so much work at the walk, and she felt like she said she felt like she was starting all over, and yet it was necessary. So I think to your point, that was something that a rider will appreciate. As far as that approach to it, the holistic approach, as opposed to giving a one size fits all and trying to fit the horse into a program, where did that thinking come from? Was that just in you innately, or did you have a trainer yourself when you were younger that opened your eyes to that belief that, yes, each horse is different, so you can't treat them all the same way?
There's different situations. One, I had a chance to work 3 years in a row when I was 18, but I say 3 years, but intensively, almost every day during 3 years. with a Portuguese coronel, João Martins Abrantes. It was a classic rider. He did Grand Prix dressage and jumping Grand Prix. Then he gave me the basics of the classic dressage, but for jumpers, because if you have the dressage for the dressage competition, the back of the horses doesn't stretch so much as we need the neck and the back for the jump. And I got that chance when you have a really solid classic base. After you can analyze better the body of the horses, the beats, and all things, because sometimes the riders are focused on the control, but to jump big more than the control, you need a confident and elastic contact, right? If you have the good base to how to have your horse in your leg, in soft in the hand, and pushing well, good balance and elastic contact, you feel that a too strong beat is not good to jump big classes. On that, I always dreamed to be able to take a horse and by myself change the horse and get him that he can, for sure, every horse can progress, can be better, but if you are more smart and there are other ones are more athletics, but every horse can improve. There are a few that improve more than other ones, but I think we should take the raw material and from what we have to give them the chance to use the best as they can his own body, right? Because I listen a lot, the riders talking, this horse is very fast in front, this horse is past the back, the hind legs, very high, very nice, super nice. Everything that the riders are saying is correct, but for me, more important than that is how they jump with the body. I used to say they should jump like a cat, because the people say, this horse doesn't have strength, it doesn't have power. Okay, an elephant has much more power than a leopard, right? But the leopard, he has not the same power, but jumps more, right? And is more light. I think that a lot of horses, they are really powerful, but they need to learn to jump like a cat. And when they jump like a cat, they hurt less and they get more.
That's true. And interesting that you said that, because I spoke with George Morris last year and he, like you, likes a horse that is cat-like. So I wondered, I know it appears that way back when you used to be competing a lot in United Arab Emirates. Was that the closest big hub for you to go to from Portugal, or how did that come about?
It was like that all my life. I did the tours. We have the first tour that we had. It was in Spain. That today is called Sunshine Tour. At the time, they got already the name, but it was like in different cities of the south of Spain. It was Marbella. It was in two shows where the show is now, and after in Jerez de la Frontera. Later on, a few other shows they didn't continue organizing, and Antonio Blasquez concentrate everything in Montemedio, where they organize nowadays. And after that tour, the riders and the organizers, they start to understand, like it was a copy from Wellington. In 2001, I came to visit Wellington and I met Antonio Blasquez. I saw him here because I met him already before, but I met him in Wellington because he came to see how it works, Wellington, to do a Wellington in Europe. And after he did Sunshine Tour. But suddenly the organizers, they found that the riders, they like to move for one place for a month or 2 months. They don't like, not anymore, 1 weekend here and a weekend there is too much work, too much expenses. But after everything improves, and now there are so many tours in Europe that the riders, they change a bit. Now the riders like to be 3 weeks in one tour, 3 weeks in another tour. They don't stay for the full tour at the same place. A few, yes, but most of them, no. And once that I did all the tours, I always like to meet new people, new places, and to travel. Because my father always said, a man, when he travels, he buys, he sells, or he learns something. And then I went to Emirates and I had the chance to meet Sheikha Fatima. And Sheikha Fatima invited me to go to the Emirates And I went there for 3 years. And we had very good shows. It was January, February, March. They start already in December, but I never did in December. And they are 3, 4, and 5 stars. And in 21st, during COVID, because of COVID, they would just have 2 stars. It didn't worth to pay the flights for the horses to go to Emirates to do 2 stars. And I have a friend that was at the time in California, a Portuguese rider called Bruno das Neves, that told me, why you don't come to California? And I said, okay, but in California is full of COVID. I'm going to die there. No, come. And I took 2 horses. At the time, I was on the first 100 of the world, and I could have a waiver from USEF. And they let me travel with the horses. I brought 2 Grand Prix horses and one 8 years old. And I was in Termo, in San Juan de Capistano. And after I was with Esta. I could just say 90 days. I went back to Portugal. I came back again. I was 2 more months in California. I won Grand Prix. I had very good results. But actually, my first idea, it was to come to do the shows, maybe try to sell 1 or 2 or all 3 my horses, and after go back to Europe. But like the Americans, they are very nice, very kind, but very close. You say hi and buy very fast. It doesn't work like that, the business. They need to know you, they need to trust you, they need time to analyze you, if you are a good person with the horses or not, and takes time until they buy a horse from me. And then after I flew to Traverse City, after I went to Tryon, Socrates, after I came back again to California to the World Cup in Las Vegas, and after later on in Fort Worth. And I arrived at January of 22nd in Ocala. And after, like most of the Europeans, I cannot imagine myself living in the US. But after I start to like more and more and more, and after suddenly I decide to stay. And I start to organize my visa and my company, my papers, and social security, driving license, and after to be based. And after I developed more the business here, and maybe the Emirates, to come to your question, was responsible to that I'm here, because in Europe we are not very used to travel by plane with the horses. It's too expensive, and we immediately in our mind we say no. But once that I went to Emirates, and after I did well and I paid the fees, I won money, this and that, I said, okay, why not to go to US? And I came to here. Now I love to be here. A very nice life here. I have nice students. I have nice horses. We have here in the US a lot of nice shows, and I like a lot to be here.
Well, and for sure, World Equestrian Center, I was thinking when you came to Florida, that was about the same time as it was really starting to expand and grow. And I feel like I've had this conversation with so many riders that it's been such a game changer, because to your point, you can stay put for most of the winter, and yet you're having tremendous competition because people come from all over the world to compete. And then during the summer, you have the ability to travel from where you are to places like Kentucky and North Carolina, South Carolina, Virginia. They're all within reach by driving, so you don't have to actually fly the horses. And then you're able to expand your business. So I completely understand how Ocala has become a home for you, because it feels like a lot of people. And like you, I would say I live in Canada, and I never thought I'd be spending that much time in the States either. But I do like going down in the winter. It's been fabulous as an amateur to be able to go down and just stay put in one spot and be able to work remotely, and then also be riding my horse. So I can appreciate that you've built a home there.
But I love when I saw Ocala. Okay, WEC is amazing. It's really something extraordinary. But I'm a horseman, and I see that the horses in Ocala, they have a beautiful life, because we have big paddocks, good grass. My business is more based on horses that I see. They have all the results, but I see the potential. I bring them, I work them, I train them, I had the results, and after I sell them. Okay, is what I do the best. Okay, I also do direct sales from horses with results, and I know where they are. It's more and more difficult to find, but we still are able to find them. Where I my business works better is when I buy horses that normally the people don't trust to buy because they don't have the experience to analyze the horse, the potential, and also maybe they don't know what they need to be to get there, right? And that's what I do the most. In Ocala, you have WEC and you have heats, the winter season and the fall too. And the rides are a little bit more spread. And for the horses that are not so ready, I can make them improve here and that sometimes speak a little bit of prize money. And that then doesn't cost me so much as in Wellington, right? Because in Wellington, there are more riders in the classes. And if you need to go in a 140 class to give experience to a horse, you should go full gas like that. But like that, you are not preparing well your horse. And I love to be here. I'm not a guy involved in politics, but I love America because America, the people are nice. They are focused on the success. They appreciate success. In Europe, we are more and more socialist and communist, and the people are negative, jealous. If you win, you have a feeling that you did something wrong. The people in Europe are more jealous. Here, the people are nice, are kind, thinks positive. You have a very nice atmosphere at the shows. People think big if you win a class or a Grand Prix. The riders come to you, hey, good job, very nice ride, and you have a better life.
I would agree with you. I do find it's a very supportive atmosphere there. And I've neglected to mention HITS, and it's true. HITS is a big part of the circuit down there as well, to your point, because you can develop a younger horse because there are classes for the younger horse. It sounds to me like you really love the development part of a horse. Yeah. That's the passion in it for you. I was noting that the mounts that you have currently are not that old. I wanted to talk a little bit about them. One in particular, I know there's 4 that I understand are your current mounts. And one of them that I was interested to hear about was Galaxia de Ferval Z, because I read somewhere that you bought her from a video you'd seen, which again speaks to your point about other riders maybe being afraid of testing something that they don't know that much about, but you saw enough in the video that you felt you could make something of her, and you have. So maybe share a little bit about how that process came.
Yeah, I mean, my green card process was approved, but now we are in the final things to get a green card. And I could not travel. Actually, I could. I had my visa, but the people were saying, hey, if you are waiting for the green card, better don't travel. And I didn't want to take the risk. I have a friend, he's a very good friend and good partner since years, called Joncalves de Ocala, and we have always a lot of horses together. And I wanted to buy a mare. He told me, look this mare. She was coming to 8. It was like January, February, beginning of 8. It's a very good mare. I like her a lot. And he sent me the videos, and I love the mare. But after they blocked the mare for another rider, like for a month, we could not buy the mare. The rider never showed up. And after the rider that used to ride the mare asked the owners if they could wait a bit because he was trying to find someone to buy the mare for him to ride, to continue riding the mare, but that didn't work for him. And after there's another Irish rider here that went to try, but he did everything, but he didn't buy. And I called him and listen, I know that you tried this mare. It would be possible to send me the videos from your trial. We are good friends. And he said, okay. And he sent me the videos. And with this trial gave me more information. And after I spoke with Perla, and Perla said, you are crazy to buy such an expensive mare without trying, but I know that I feel that the mare is very good. And I bought the mare, and actually when she arrived, she's a machine. She's good canter, scopy, careful. It's really a nice horse.
And you've been riding her quite a bit at the 3-star level with some great success, if I'm not mistaken. What did you see in that video that made you feel this was something special?
She's tall. She's a tall mare. She's maybe 17 and a half, but she's very quick on the ground. A big horse, but like a pony. And she's very careful and very brave. She doesn't care to jump at night, indoor, outdoor. She's really careful, and she does needs experience. And I'm producing her. Actually, I always sell my horse, but this one I already have good riders that try to buy. And I said, for the moment, let me see a little bit more, because maybe if I have a chance to go to Los Angeles, it would be a plan for her. And I'm already 60. I feel good. I feel still young. But I also, the money is not everything. I also want to enjoy life. And when you go to a show with a nice horse, the show is marvelous. When we go to the show with a normal horse, it's so long the show, and you just think to go back home.
We talked a little bit off camera about your business, and I think I had mentioned to you that I noticed all your horses seem to be owned by Sigma Stables. And then we discussed that that's actually your LLC, so that you own all your horses. And I think that is so smart, because I have to admit that most of the riders I've spoken to in Canada, their biggest challenge is they don't own their horses, and they are forced to sell them when they get to a certain level, because the money is good and the owners feel like that was their intention. I love that you have thought this through at your end and said, and just to your earlier point when you said, I may have friends that are invested in the horses, but I'm always the controlling partner, so I can determine what that future is going to be like. I think just in terms of what you're showing me in your character, it's not just about keeping the horse for yourself. It also seems like you really care about where that horse lands in the future.
Sure, for sure.
You're wanting to ensure that they have a good path forward. Maybe tell me a little bit about your other mounts. I know there's Quicksilver is one of them. There's Katniss Jebel, and then there's Septon Z, who I think I've seen a lot of videos of Septon Z. So I think Septon has won, Scoop to Septon Z has won quite a bit. Maybe share a little bit with our listeners about those mounts.
Just one thing that is important that we clarify. I say that I'm not interested to sell the Galaxy now because she's mine. But when I have horses with other partners, the horses are always for sale. I never block a horse from people that have money in and to profit to myself. You understand? I will not say I want to keep it a little bit longer, because I respect the investor. But Scoop de Septon is a very nice horse. He finished last year in December. You know that there's a rank, the world ranking for the riders counts the points with all the horses, the 30 best results that the rider has with all the horses. But there's another ranking that is a combination. Is the same rider with this horse, just the points that you have with that horse. And Scoop was 10th of the world.
Wow.
Yeah. And in December from last year. And this horse is very smart, Scopy, and he did fourth in the World Cup Grand Prix in Traverse City last September. And he did a lot of good results. And he already won 3 stars like 3 or 4 times. And this every weekend is winning money. and is a very nice horse, very easy, beautiful, super nice to ride, very quick, very smart, very sweet. I love him. He's a horse, he's coming now 12, he's on his best age. If I sell him, because I have Guidoriola is partner me on this horse, and if someone comes, I should sell because I respect my partnership with him. But it's a horse. If I sell it, I say, oh, it's because it's a machine. It's a super nice horse. And after I have Katniss, right, that you said, Katniss is all mine. But now I pass Katniss to Francisco Goyoaga, the Spanish rider that rides with the Ashland Farm. And I had with him a very nice mare that calls PST the Muse, that he did 5 stars, very good with her. And we just sold her to Jessica Mendonça and Nick, the Lojoyo's student. And now I passed Katniss to him because he rides really good. He takes care really good from the horses. And the Ashland Farm is a super team. And they have good contacts for the business. And I gave it to him. And after Quicksilver belongs from a good friend from Pearl and mine, is Lily Stransky. And is a horse that was before with Gonçalo Busca. And now Lily Stransky asked me if I could ride a horse. And I said yes. And I took a few months to get him in my system. But now the horse starts to understand what I want from him. And is doing better and better. It just did a few 150 classes really good in Kentucky. She loves horses, Lily Stransky. She's maybe one of the first times in my life that I'm riding for a owner. But she's a very good friend. And we are doing this together. And maybe one day we sell him. And maybe she wants to buy another one because she loves to go to the shows and to see her horses winning. But she also likes to do a little bit of business. She's a businesswoman, very smart and very sweet. And like we pass good moments with my wife and her. And it's fun. fun. And after I had Vic de Croisy, but I retired her. She won a lot of Grand Prix in America. She was a very competitive horse, but now she's going to breed with her.
And did she not retire at World Equestrian Center?
Right.
Yes, I think I was there that evening. It was a big event, and it happened just before you were riding in the Grand Prix, as I recall. I was thinking it was probably an emotional evening for you.
For sure. Yes, it was.
I wanted to circle back to your students because, as you said, you keep it small as far as coaching so that allows you to be able to be available for all of your pursuits.
Yeah.
So how do you pick your students? Because I'm sure there's many that may have approached you, but do you feel like there is a common denominator between the ones that you've chosen to help?
Actually, they asked me if I could train them. They have something similar. All of them is they are all young girls that they are professionals, and they have all of them. They have their own farm and their own horses and their own business. Yeah. Few they're more business than the other ones that like normal, but other ones are just starting the business, but they want to be professionals. And I try to help them and explain them and pass experience about how they should live from the horse business. Because all over the world, in America maybe more, the big majority lives for the horses, but it is very difficult to live from the horses. If I used to say, if I go to the restaurant, my money I win with the horses. And I say with the horses is everything included for sure. It's the business, it's the prize money, it's the classes, and it's like that it works. But it's very hard. But it's possible. You should be serious, hard worker, but smart worker. Because my father used to say, you should not work too much, you should work in a smart way. And if you are smart, even working the horses every day, you need to don't ask too much from them, but ask enough. Give them the time and the chance to improve, but work in the smart way. It means I'm always imagine that I'm in the competition. I'm always focused on the competition. The way they move, I think, timefold, on the walk, on the trot, on the canter. I need to move and collect. I need to turn. And that should be all those exercises should be natural and become natural for them. That when I go to the ring, I can try to do like equitation. But something that I have a very simple system. I'm not a guy too much complicate, but I talk at the beginning a lot because I explain why this and why that. Because like that, people can think, they can keep in the easiest way then just say, do like that, do like that. Do like this, do like that, but why? If you don't explain why, normally the riders, they don't keep it so much. Then most of the people say, it's very difficult to make the people feeling. I don't agree. I tell you, when I was young, I always used to listen to people say, that guy or that boy or that girl has a lot of talent. There's a study made in Europe, in Holland, I think George Morris makes part of this, that they say the 5 skills from a top rider, the first one is the rider should be a winner. The second one should have a strong mental. Is when you have already experience and you are in the Nations Cup, the trainer touch your leg and say, I need your clear round. You cannot shake your legs, you should be cool to have the clear round. The third is you should buy the right horse for you. And I know a lot of good riders that they buy very bad horses. Not the right horses for them, right? For example, Kent Farrington is a super rider, but is one of the smartest riders buying horses for himself. All the horses from Kent are quick in front, fast on the ground, because he likes to ride with energy. But if he would not buy a slow horse, because it doesn't fit on this system, right? And the fourth skill is when you are a winner, you have the strong mental, and you have already the experience, and you bought the right horse to do the right schedule for the horse to be in certain time of the year, like in August for the World Championship, in the best shape that it can be. So you need to train bigger show, smaller show, active rest, and arrive there that the horse is confident, athletic, feeling good in the best shape of the top of the form of the year. And after, when you have all that, you don't break your horse, then you should have a good vet, a good facility to train, good truck. And after the 50s, talent. Because If you have talent, but you are a chicken, you are not a winner. The talent doesn't serve, doesn't work. If you have talent, but you are very nervous and unsure, the talent cannot shine. If you have talent, but if you buy the wrong horse, talent doesn't help you much. If you have talent and you break your horse for the preparation, the talent doesn't work. Then talent is the cherry on the top of the cake of all together, can make a plus. But I think you have a lot of riders that when they have a good program, a good system, and they are very good horseman people, and they, because in the horses, if you, as they say, repeat often, or say mechanize the system, they learn. But the riders too. For example, I had one of my best clinics that I had in my life. It was with Bertalan the Nemeti. I was 18 years old. He was already old, and I was at the time very young. I was 4 days. And there's something that surprised me here in US. He's not a critic. I don't like to criticize anyone, any system. But I learned with him that the trot, you should trot with separated legs, like 1, 2, 1, 2. When you trot like that, because the trot has 2 times. And if you trot with separated legs, you are adding impulsion on both times. 1, 2, 1, 2. When you do like that one time, the horse locks and it doesn't go forwards. You have more difficult to get him forward instead of, because the horse, when they trot, they move the body like that. And if you trot like that, it was this I learned with Bertolt the Nemeti. And he was here, and I don't see anyone doing that here. Okay, other things, but this one is something that you can teach the riders to feel with the Nemeti. Theoric classes in the morning and practic afternoon. And they used to say, yeah, you have the walkers 4 times. Your leg in a discreet way should say 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, or the canter 3 times, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And if you play this with the horses, it's like music. You start to feel your horse, and your horse is a lot more comfortable working with you, and he will be more ready to listen from you. Understand? Than to be like a mechanic and pulling, and it's interesting.
It's interesting because years ago I trained with Matt Cohn, and he used to speak, as you said, of music, and he'd say it's like dancing with your horse when you ride them. And I thought that that was a very lovely image. So the visual that you're creating is similar, that it is, it's a partnership and it's an understanding and it's a connection. And I feel like that's the hardest thing to get with a horse. And that's what creates that special partnership that you see at the top levels.
Yeah, because a lot of riders, they do things and with talent that they do it, but they feel it, but they don't know why. I know a lot of top riders, they cannot teach because they don't have the theoric support to explain to the people why or how. But they feel it. They know how to do it. Hey, come, it was a little bit deep. It was a little bit long. Okay, but the rider also felt it was deep and long. But how, what the rider, the student should do to don't ride so deep or don't ride so far, is that you need to explain. And that you should tell your horse, maybe if he's too far, you need to stop, run back, canter, gallop, stop, make transition that the horse stays with you. It's not when you add the leg, he runs away. Then, if you do this, come now to the jump, and the horse suddenly sets and is at a good distance. But like a very basic example. But I see very good top riders that say, hey, not so short, not so close, a little bit more far, can't a little bit more, but for them, works like that. But for the students, sometimes I think they need to hear more to understand why and how.
As an amateur rider, I could say 100%. A lot of times it's like, how do I get deeper? I remember trying to jump a fake water jump with my trainer a few years ago, and she was trying to get me closer to the base, and I just couldn't get there. And my horse likes to leave with a long stride, and it didn't matter how wide she made that thing, he still was off the base. And I just thought, I don't understand how to make him get closer, because he doesn't like to jump closer because he's a little weak behind and it's easier for him to propel himself with speed. So I can fully appreciate that.
When I was in Europe, we had the Europeans in general say Americans, they ride like this, like that, but just need good horses. I must say that I'm very fan from equitation system. I think it's very difficult to do it well, but I think for me it's the best. And I have to say, but after if you have a bad horse, okay, but you don't have a bad horse. You should have just a good horse. The horse, if you take them from the beginning and you train them in that system, they will get there. But I think the American system is very solid and is very good.
It's based on the basics. And
Yeah,
so,
and
as you said, I think that works.
since that I arrived here, I think that I improved my way of riding and I learned a lot here. I really, today, a lot more demanding to buy a horse because in Europe, we have always the tendency to buy scope. And if it's a slow horse, it's not a problem because we want to go to the Europeans or to the Olympics or to the World Championship. But here in America, even in Canada, whatever, with a slow horse, you don't win a single dollar.
No, the horses for sure have gotten faster and faster, no question about that.
And they're breathing better and better on that direction. Nowadays, we see so many different riders from different countries riding so good. A lot of people. When I was 16 years old, I used to go to Great New England to do a working student. And each time that I went to London with my parents and this, I wanted to go to the library to buy a book or a video. At the time, we had no information at all. And now we go to internet and you have everything, all the information. Nowadays, everyone can access to the good things.
It's so true because I had the conversation with a friend the other day about videos. Back in the day, there was one business of somebody videotaping our rounds at the horse show. And at the end of the day, we would go and sit in his trailer and we'd pay $10 and we would watch our rounds on the VHS machine. We learned so much from that. And nowadays, there's usually somebody videotaping you on their phone. You're able to visually see what you did and find your mistakes. And I feel like even the top riders, I see them, they come out of the ring and they want to see that video. It doesn't matter what level you're riding at. And to your point, it's so easy to access the information to make yourself better.
Even today, I'm always between friends and riders open. I'm not a susceptible person, and I'm sure enough about myself to accept a critic or a suggestion. I'm not stubborn at all. And the trainer in show jumping that trained me more, it was Thomas Fuchs, Martin Fuchs' father. I trained every time that I had a championship, was with him. And after a few years, the last year that was Portugal, we had Antonio Petris, that was a Greek rider that worked a lot with Hank Nuren, and he trained us, the Portuguese team, for a few years. It was a very good help too. But after, when I had, like I said, that basic classic base from the Portuguese Cornel Martins Abrantes in dressage, I went to work with Neco Pessoa, with Gilda Bertrand de Valandai, another very good riders. But I had a little bit already my balance, my system. I never tried to copy someone. I just built, I catch a little bit from this one, a little bit from that one, and I build my personality as a rider, But most of them, the bases are all the same. But a few, like they have more help, other more here. Like Americans like to work more in straight lines, Europeans maybe work more in circles. The straight lines is because a little bit of the hunters and the equitation brings the people to ride always a little bit more straight. I think you have good things from every system, but you just need to avoid what you don't like. Don't need to criticize.
Well, I think it goes back to what you were saying earlier about being a chef. So it sounds like you as a rider are also a bit of a chef.
Yeah.
So I like that you're a mix of many things that you've managed to absorb, and yet you still have your own, what you do.
Like I used to say, when I go sometimes to train Hunter, or because Hunter's sister goes, Luis, what do you want that I build in the ring? And I say, no problem, I need to do a little bit of workout. I will do it, let me start. And when I arrive, I see the horse, and I say, what is your plan? I would like to go to this show, or that show, or in the ring. I remember on that turn, this, on that, you had the faults, and this, and that, and I think a bit, okay, let's do it. And after I do in the moment, I don't go to train them with an exercise that we pass all the horses at the same exercise. Even I go to Maya Dennis or one of the other students, or like Christina Gansauer, with one horse, maybe with the other one, I change. I swapped for different exercise because you should train what the horse needs, not the training system. I'm not mechanic.
What a fabulous approach. I can see why these people want to train with you. It is really teaching to need as opposed to just teaching for the purpose of teaching.
I've never imposed anything. I'm very open. For example, I remember when we were in the World Cup final, when Hunter Holloway was third, to the last round, there were a distance like Oxford to the triple, could be, I don't remember well, 6 or 5, 6. It was like in a curve, could be 5 inside or 6 outside. And we had a plan, I don't remember, for 6 or 5. And I said, listen, before that we go in, the plan is the plan, but your feeling is more important than the plan. And don't get attached to the plan. When you are in the hair of the oxer, you should decide if you feel that she's ready to the 5 or she lands shallow and you need to open for the 6. I think the horses, they work well mechanizing with mechanics, it's like the same season, but the riders, they need to have that feeling to improve. And such a good rider like she is, they do it really easy. We should, as a trainer, never limit the feeling. The feeling is the feeling. For example, I'm going to walk a course and I see 1 to 2 is like 8 moving. But in my head, I just kept is moving a bit. After I go 4 to 5 is a little bit short. But in my head, okay, that is short. And after I say 1 to 2, I move, then I slow down. And later on, someone comes. How many strides are from 7 to 8? I know that they are perfect or need to move, but I don't know how many. And most of the time, for jump off, I see 10 or 9 or whatever. But after like now in Kentucky, there were Oxer in a speed class to a double verticals far, but I walked like to have fun. It was like 11 and a half. With Galaxy, I did 9.
Wow.
And I say, wow, even I surprised myself. I think in the ring, I ride what I feel. Like in the National Grand Prix with Quicksilver, like 3 to 4, it was 10. I opened a little bit too much. I did 11. And after I had one time fault because of that extra stride, because of the rest I did quite tight. But it's interesting.
That's what makes it so entertaining, I think, the sport. Just wanted to circle back to, I know we talked a little bit about Galaxia being potentially a mount that could go to the Olympics. Do you have any short-term goals ahead of that with her?
My federation, they would like that I go with Scoop for the World Championship to Aachen, with Galaxia in September to the Mediterranean Games again. But like I said, I'm waiting for my green card. I still don't have a green card, and I should leave next week to Calgary, to your country, to try Scoop there to see how it goes there, because it's more or less a similar ring as Aachen. Grass ring, big open water, walls, Liverpool, and I think that it could be good, but I would be well prepared to go to Aachen. But now I did 3 stars. Next week I'm going to do 3 stars. From 3 stars, I don't feel ready to do a world championship. You understand? Then I would stay here around. And the Galaxia, I would do next week if we can jump to horses in the Grand Prix, the 3 stars. I will do the 3 stars with her. And after in Ocala, maybe I start to do 4 stars a little bit more and more and bring her to the top.
So that you can build her.
Middle of next year, she should be doing solid 5 stars to get the points to, in 1 year later, get in the first 3 of Europe to, as individual, to go to the Olympics. It's a long way.
It is a long way. I had that conversation with Shane Sweetenham, and he said the Olympics seem a long way off. He's just focusing on the next year for now, so I can appreciate that. I really want to thank you so much for your time and your energy, Luis. It's been a pleasure hearing your story and talking about your approach to training, and I certainly wish you continued success. And just in the immediate future, this week at Tryon, I hope everything goes very well for you and your mounts. And I look forward to catching up with you, hopefully at WEC next year.
Thank you. It was a huge pleasure to have this moment with you. Thank you so much for your invitation.
If you'd like to learn more about the podcast and upcoming guests, please feel free to follow us on Instagram and Facebook at Horse Tales with Kat.